Okay, welcome to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, and it would not be a true internet podcast if we did not have technical problems to start. I apologize for about 10 minutes late on this, uh, but we're going to try and fit in your full hour because I know you just want to listen to my voice and Sean's voice for another hour. So let me go ahead and introduce my sidekick here, Sean Williams. How you doing, Sean?
Doing good, man. Been a busy day. We hope we haven't lost too many people from off of high perches that they flung themselves off of following Sunday's punch to the gut that we got in the Superdome. But we're gonna survive this. It's not all doom and gloom, and I believe that if you want to look at the positive side of things, we're gonna move forward from this, and we're gonna be a better ball team because of it.
Real quick, isn't it amazing now that starting with Sunday, how all last week and even Saturday night when we were talking about this, it was the offensive line. Oh my God, we need guards. Oh my God, Drew Brees is going to get killed. We can't stop Khalil Mack. He's going to get beat up. He's going to get injured. He'll be out for the year. That's gone now. Now it's all about the defense. Oh my God, how the hell are we going to cover anybody? We gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter. Oh my God, we can't rush the passer. All the stuff that we had before. And then Jeff Duncan came out and said, we're right back where we started last year. Number one
Yeah.
offense, 31st ranked defense. So, it's amazing.
Funny how it works that way, isn't it?
Oh, it's just the pendulum swings back and forth, back and
Yeah.
forth. We're either 0-16 or going to be 16-0. There's no in between anymore. So,
well, the NFL season is by no means a sprint. It is most definitely, if anything, a marathon that 17 long weeks. And there's certain realities that go along with an opening day loss, which means basically, unless you reel off about 4 to 6 real quick back-to-back wins, you're going to be fighting from behind the 8 ball for a little while now. And that's part of the paradigm that's left now that we're 0-1. Okay, so it's time for the New York Giants.
right. Well, go ahead. I was just going to say, I know the breaking news today was the release of CJ Spiller, and it was a total surprise for almost everybody, especially because you thought, at least what you saw in preseason, you saw a very healthy CJ Spiller. You saw a little bit of the moves. You saw the cuts. He even had Peyton even had him returning some kicks, and with a 16, when I think it was $16 million salary, a $7 million hit we just took this year, added to already $33 million we had in dead money. So we're looking at $40 million in dead money now because of this cut. It's got people just totally flabbergasted. They can't believe we did this.
I saw a post just a little while ago, and it said that all told, by the end of the business arrangement, if you want to call it that, we will have paid CJ Spiller $9 million for 198 snaps. And I just could not resist. I got the calculator out. Would you like to take a guess at how much CJ Spiller was paid for each snap that he played as a New Orleans Saints player?
I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say $45,000.
Well, you're an accountant. That's not fair.
No, I'm not an accountant, but I do purchasing. I'm not an accountant. I have too much personality.
45,400. Wait a minute. $45,454.55 for every play that CJ Spiller was on the field wearing a New Orleans Saints uniform in the season, not during preseason. For $45,454.55 for every play. Can someone
Yeah.
please sign me up? I'm old. I'm brittle. I'll give you one good play. Please. I just
uh,
I think that
well,
the
it's
overriding theme here, it's not that, oh God, it's another bus. It's the ineptitude that this seems to point at. And I'm all organization. Um, I believe in Sean Payton. I have a lot of faith in the guy as a coach, as a leader. But this just the undertones of these things, just over and over and more. Uh, it's eating away at that. Well, for lack of a better word, that belief system in the system. This is tearing it down bit by bit by bit. You know, uh, water doesn't wash away concrete all at one time. It takes it just a piece here and a piece there, but eventually that water washes that bridge out. You know.
well, here, we're going to go back and look at these years. The Sean Payton, whenever that ends, and the Drew Brees era, whenever that ends, when we go back and look, we're going to sit there and say the 2014 and 2015 off seasons were the worst in Saints history, at least for this group, this era. Okay. Obviously, we've had worse seasons in the Meekum years or whatever, but if you look at what the moves we made in 2014 in that offseason and the moves we made in the offseason 2015, that's where you see it all fall apart. And I think the 2016 offseason is trying to get it all back. Okay.
Yeah.
2014, what did we do? We let Roman Harper go. We let Malcolm Jenkins sign as a free agent to Philadelphia. We bring in Jarius Byrd. We trade away Sproles. Okay. All right. We paid Jimmy Graham and we paid Junior Gillette. Both of them 25 million, more than 25 million. I think it was 25 million a year. But we both paid them big contracts. I don't have that contract breakdown in front of me here. Okay.
I don't either.
2015 now comes around. 2014 was a horrible season. We found out the real Junior Gillette, once he got paid his money, he gets in a fight in the locker room. He's a distraction. He says stupid crap to an interviewer where he says, he and Cam Jordan are just as good, if not better, than Will Smith and, all the pass rushers of the past. They've got more talent on this team than, the 2009 team has. That Curtis Lofton's a better middle linebacker than Jonathan Vilma. And, Vilma comes out and tweets, you don't say these kind of things. We find out Gillette's an idiot. Okay. Then the offseason stuff with the belt incident and all the other things happen. All right. 2015 rolls around. We trade Graham. We cut Gillette. So we take a huge cap hit for that. Yeah. Bird was hurt in 2014. Begins the 2015 offseason, hurt again. We're starting to see, and then we go and sign Spiller. We sign Brandon Browner. We bring in players that, for whatever reason, do not fit in with the kind of culture that Sean Payton and Drew Brees and Mickey Loomis wanted to establish back in 2006. We're not getting the team first kind of players. We're getting more of the me first kind of players. Okay. And I think that's what you're seeing happening right now. Sean Payton has decided, you know what? I don't care how much it costs. We've got to get rid of anybody who is not buying into the program. And for whatever reason, Spiller did not buy into the program, apparently. I don't know if he felt he was milking the injury from last year. I don't know. I don't claim to have access to the locker room and the mindset of people. Sure. But it's obvious.
I think that the first indication that there was something that was not quite right, as you alluded to earlier, the preseason, Spiller looked good. He looked healthy. He looked solid. And then you got a huge game one against a very likely playoff contender from the AFC against the Raiders, and he's left on the inactive list.
Mm-hmm.
That made absolutely no sense. Of course, now it's easy. It's really, really easy now to look back on a couple of days as looking at it through the eyes of what we saw this afternoon and say that, well, hey, yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's why that. But as you and I were talking about off air, I believe that one day in the future we'll be able to look back at this whole thing and see that there was a lot more than what, as you keep saying, we're not in the locker room. We don't, and I feel the exact same way as you do. I don't ever try to put myself over as an insider. That being said, I'm not privy to locker room conversations, pressers, stuff like that. What I see is basically that. It's what I see, what I hear. And that being said, there's just something that from this whole thing that doesn't quite seem to come together right. And I think that we're going to find out sometime in the future that there was a lot more to this story than what. And to that end, I respect Sean Payton for not airing dirty laundry.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to really find out the true story behind anything unless you corner, somebody who works the Saints beat. And, years and years later, you might find out. Hell,
Sure.
We still really don't know we know about kind of what happened with Joe Horn and Joe Johnson and Willie Roast's wife and the whole bit. But most of it is hearsay and most of it is, guessing. But we never actually heard from the principal players what was going on. And I don't think we ever will as a fan unless somebody.
And I don't think that we need to.
No, but
I don't think
what I'm saying.
I understand what I think that the way that we feel about those guys, I think to preserve that, whatever happens should be left there. If that makes any sense.
The first question is, was this a football-related move? I would say it's a football-related move only from the standpoint of, and this is not to say that Murphy and Cadet are as good a player as a healthy Spiller should be, okay? But for this team and the kind of people that Peyton wants in this locker room, for whatever reason, this is his mindset, he would rather have Cadet and Murphy on the team than Spiller. And I posited this question elsewhere, and this is what you have to look at. $40 million in dead cap money, okay? That really makes up 4 players that make up $40 million in dead cap money. Junior Gallette's still on the books for one. This is the last year he's on the books. So you got Junior Gallette around $22 million, I think. Then you've got Brandon Browner, Keenan Lewis, and CJ Spiller now making up the bulk of the rest. That was their money that all accelerated into this cap. Okay.
Excuse me, Alan.
Yeah.
Is Jari? Are we still on the hook for Jari?
Yes, we on the books now. In the cap related stuff. I mean, if we look at things in terms of this is the money you've already spent. It's like a credit card statement, okay? This is money already spent that you have to pay on. We haven't added new debt to it yet. This is a bill you still have to pay. Now, they're not paying Jari Evans for his old contract, but they are paying the cap figure of Jari Evans' contract because Jari Evans would not take a pay cut, okay? Yeah. So, he is also part of it too. But the big four on there are Gallette, Browner, Lewis, and now Spiller. 4 guys who are not on the team anymore that you're paying for, all right? And my question is, are the Saints better off a team without those 4 guys? In my opinion, yes, they are, especially with Browner and Gallette, okay?
Well, I look at it like this. with Browner and Collette, you had problems from the locker room all the way out.
Well, you had problems on the field.
Okay.
You had problems on the field.
And with Spiller and Lewis, you're looking at guys that, regardless of whether you're paying them or not, they're not on the field. So
they're not producing for you. They're not producing for you at what you're paying them. Are you getting, $4.5 to $5 million? Because I think it's how much he was making, 5.1 million, something like that. Are you getting 4.5 to 5.1 million out of Spiller, even if he's active? If he's out there for 15, 20 snaps, okay, and the average offense, Saints offense will run anywhere from 50 to 65 plays, depending on how the game runs, okay?
Yeah.
Spiller's out there for 15 to 20 snaps. Are you getting 15 to 20 snaps worth out of a CJ Spiller? Is he a game breaker? Is he going to do what we saw Brandon Cooks do? Is he even going to do what we saw Darren Sproles do? In my opinion, he's not going to. He will never do that again.
For my part in it all, I said a year ago, and you can ask anyone that knows me, I said a year ago that Spiller should have been cut in the offseason, no matter what it cost, because looking back last year, you take away one overtime play against Dallas, and he made no contribution, no sizable or meaningful contribution to this team.
It was a mystery why he wasn't out there more. And my answer to that was, well, let's see what he did when he was out there. Yeah. He dropped passes over the middle, and if you ran a pitch play or a stretch play with him, he was always heading to the sideline. Now, granted, he may have still been injured. We don't know. I'm not a doctor. Yeah. I'm not the team doctor. I'm not his personal doctor. So I have no idea how he recovered from his injury. But we did not see that explosive Spiller that you saw in Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah.
We have not seen that explosive player in Jerry Spurr that you saw in Buffalo. I think the only reason why he's still on the team is
I'm willing
cap figure's too huge.
I'm willing to cut Bird some slack, because there's one mate, and I didn't really think about this until my buddy Sean Fox on ESPN 97.7 today pointed it out, and I never really gave it much thought until he said it. With Bird, the difference between Bird in Buffalo and Bird in New Orleans is one major difference, and that is in Buffalo, you had a pass rush to where Bird was stuck out there just basically playing center field. And he has not had the benefit of that in New Orleans to this point. Now, do I think he's made $54 million worth of a contribution to this defense? Not by any stretch at all. And I do believe that come the end of this season, thanks to what you've convinced me of, I believe that this will probably be his final season, depending on how your Von Bell and your Kenny Vaccaros and your Eric Harris develop. I'm feeling like this will probably be the end of his run in New Orleans, unless he makes a major, sizable Darren Sharper type of turnaround this year. This is
based on what I saw in that Oakland game. He will never do that, because then we can start talking about the Oakland game now. If you watch, there's about 3 plays I'm really thinking of where you saw Bird blow it, okay? One of them is the Amani Cooper pass that led to the touchdown that made it 19-27, okay?
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It fell right in the zone. Now, the cornerback, who I think was Crawley, it could have been P.J. Williams. I have to go back and look at the tape again. But
it's Crawley.
It's Crawley? Okay.
Yep.
He lets Cooper get behind him because he's also watching for the underneath route, okay? In the zone defense, he lets him get behind him. Bird is supposed to come over and help. Bird instead stays in center field. And I watched him do this last year, too, to Brandon Browner in the Carolina game. I was at that game, and I watched him specifically, and I said, you were setting this man up to fail. you were setting him up to fail because your ass. I'm sorry, I have to calm down here. Your butt is still sitting there in center field looking at nothing. You're watching the play. Okay. Now, there is a receiver coming across who is, I think it's Nelson is his name. He is coming across the middle, but there's another safety right there who could have picked it up, but he sat there and stared at him while Cooper, the more dangerous one, is coming across. Okay. So by the time Cooper catches his pass where he's coming behind and across from Williams, Bird is in no position to help. So it's a big play, and they get down the field, okay? That was one of his mistakes. The second mistake he made was in the 75-yard touchdown run. He's the last line of defense. That's the whole reason he's out there playing center field. And he misses a tackle, and he trips the defensive back. And then from that point on, the guy's clear sailing all the way to the end zone, okay? He's not any help in run support, and he's lousy right now defending the pass. And I used to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, this is probably the scheme or whatever. But instinctively, he is slow to react to plays that develop in front of him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much time for a play to blow open with him reacting so slowly. Okay. So
I call that the Deion Sanders mode, because Deion Sanders, for him to have been such a dynamic, everybody holds him in such high esteem as, did you ever once time see him playing in a dirty uniform? Scared to get dirty, man.
Well, Deion liked to play rope-a-dope out there. Deion Sanders was a guy he had such confidence in his speed. He would bait quarterbacks to throw to a guy because he knew his break on the ball was so fast, he was going to jump that route.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. And he hated to tackle. He did not tackle. He never did. He was terrible at run support, but he was an outstanding cover corner. So that's a difference. I mean, and the greatest defensive back I ever saw in my lifetime was Mel Blount, because he was a headhunter as well as a great cover guy.
Yeah.
He'd rather beat the crap out of you than just break up a pass.
He'd take you out. But
yeah.
that was one of those once in a generation units.
He was
the
bigger.
Steel curtain.
Yeah, he was bigger than most wide receivers in the era. Now the receivers are bigger than the defensive backs. I mean,
yeah, and the rules are so much different now.
Yeah, you could jam a guy. In fact, that's why the rules were changed in 1978. That was the Mel Blount rule, because he was so effective at shutting receivers down. They had to change the passing rule. You couldn't jam a guy all the way down the field. The old rules, you could jam a guy from the time he left the line of scrimmage. You could jam him all the way as long as the ball went in the air. It was not pass interference. And
that's right.
Blount would come up and he put his hands on you and jam you like that, and he'd grab you and then just throw you down and disrupt the timing of the play. And that was perfectly legal. Okay. That was a bump and run, the 5-yard chuck rule. I mean, you just grab him and throw him to the ground.
He'd let you run 5 yards before he'd chuck you.
Yep. And then he's just riding all the way down, and then he'd look for the ball. Then he'd come up there, and he was so much bigger, he would physically outmuscle the guy. And but we saw yesterday or Sunday what happened when you put a 6'3" guy on a 5'10" guy who could run a 4.2. And that was the longest pass play in Saints history. That was an amazing play.
That really was.
That was Joe Theismann's favorite play. Theismann used to talk about all the time when we had to suffer through him on Sunday Night Football. He'd always talk to about, that his favorite play to run when you were backed up on inside your 5-yard line was the go route.
Sure.
Because the defensive back had to cover the entire field. And he said, if that guy can get behind the defensive back, he's gone. And it's an instant score. So, and that's exactly what we saw.
Man, that kid from Oakland punted the ball. They killed it at the 2. Breeze brought him out of the huddle, walked up to the line of scrimmage, and I said aloud, Drew, don't this up.
I said
he took that 2-step drop and turned and reared back, and God, there's 6 points.
Oh,
and I was right. It was just not Oakland 6. I mean,
right. Well, all I could say was, I bet you Drew said in the huddle, nobody hold. You know, you're on the 2-yard line. Nobody hold. Let them go if you have to. Do not hold and get a safety out of this.
Okay. Speaking, what's your biggest takeaway from the Oakland game?
That's why I'm wearing this Pro Bowl jersey Drew wore back in 2007. Because Drew Brees showed it. Yeah, there you go. Drew Brees showed at 37 years old, he can still light you up like anybody's business. He doesn't care who the defense is. You know, the biggest thing I took away from there is Drew Brees is going to be Drew Brees. Whenever he does get to be an old quarterback, whenever he does, you know, as Tom Brady said, he's going to play until he sucks. Whenever Drew sucks, it's going to be a long time and it's going to be sudden, because that was vintage Drew Brees. I was blown away, and I shouldn't have been, but I was really blown away by how good this receiving core is. Willie Snead, I mean, he was just Jack Del Rio's personal nightmare in that first half.
I expected whenever Snead got in with Thomas there now, I expected there to be somewhat of a stale comeback for Snead to begin the season until they kind of figured out the dynamic of where these 3 guys were going to fit in. Not a bit. Snead was Snead. Brandon Cooks was Cooks. And I cannot tell you how blown away I was by Thomas. He froze that guy. That
that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Hey, they had a 2-yard pass play. It only went for 2 yards, but Drew threw the ball awkwardly and towards the ground, and you just saw those 2 hands come out and snatch that ball out of the air by Thomas, and he just pulled it in. It was only 2 yards, but that was probably the most impressive catch I saw, because I can't tell you how long I sat there and said, this is what Coleman should be doing. This is what Nick Toon should have been doing. Adrian Arrington, every guy that has struggled in Breeze's offense. I said, you know, if you're going to show you're a great receiver, you have to go and grab that ball. You have to show you want that thing. And
you don't
that's
wait.
My favorite.
You don't wait halfway through the season to do that. You go out on opening day and you do that dirty work.
And it doesn't matter. Right. It doesn't matter if it's a 98-yard bomb or if it's a 2-yard completion. You go out there and act like that ball, that is the most important catch you're going to make of the day. And, that's what you see. Get out of Michael Thomas. I love the guy. I really do. I love everything that guy brings to the table. I have a little rule in my head. You don't draft Ohio State players. Don't draft Ohio State linebackers. Don't draft running backs from Ohio State unless they're Heisman Trophy winners. You don't draft quarterbacks from Ohio State. But this guy has broken my rule. He is probably one of the best receivers I've seen the Saints draft in decades. I mean, he's Eric Martin with speed.
Everybody has been this entire preseason time, they've been talking about how this is going to be the most talented receiving core that Drew Brees has ever had. I've been slow to buy into that or to acknowledge that, because just as quickly as you acknowledge that, then it falls apart. But Sunday it was on full display. Now we lost, and losing sucks, and I'm not going to make any excuses for that. But I'd like to think that there were some positives to come out of this. You consider a week ago today, people were basically given odds on exactly how much of the game it was going to take before Drew Brees was hurt. And given the Saints absolutely no possibility whatsoever of competing in this game, and I really, to be fair to Teron Armstead, for 3 weeks or longer now, all I've heard is how Khalil Mack was going to lay waste to this offensive line and Drew Brees. I've listened to that day after day after day after day. And you know, from some of the chat groups that we're a part of, every day, man, what is Khalil Mack going to do with Streif? Or what is he going to do to Brees? And there were a couple of times when I had to kind of sit there and.
Well, you know, the scary thing is, you know, Khalil Mack was held to basically zero stats. You know, they moved him against Armstead, and then he flipped him, put him against Streif. Streif actually, I hate Pro Football Focus. I hate him with a passion. But their grading system is they graded that Streif the highest out of all the offensive linemen. So, you know, it was amazing to see that happened, you know, that they could not get a real pass rush on, because the only sack they got really was Drew's fault. I mean, he held that ball for so long. You know, the biggest negative I take away from that game, and this carries over to looking at the Giants the following week. You know, once you saw Bro go out with a broken leg, the defense changed. I think Crabtree had one reception for 8 yards prior to Bro going down. Once Bro went down, you put Crawley on Crabtree. I mean, that's not to say we weren't getting hurt earlier, you know, because obviously Cooper was hurting us in the first half, going up against PJ Williams. But once
they were much more spread out. It was just random shots here and there that they were substantial gains.
I think it was 6 consecutive drives that the Raiders had that they didn't get anything out of it until you got to the fourth quarter. And unfortunately, I'm worried what you saw in the fourth quarter is what you're going to see next Sunday against the Giants. Because you've got even better receivers you're going against than what you saw in Oakland. I mean, Cooper is probably one of the best receivers, young receivers in the NFL. But Odell Beckham comes with all the hype and everything else, and he can show it on the field. So you're going to see, minus Bro, you're going to see PJ Williams and probably more playing against it with Crawley and Harris coming in, matched up against a talented wide receiving group. And I've already said that, you know, you have safety problems because Bird is not the playmaker we thought we were getting. You're going to have to go to a lot of cover 2 style protection schemes to protect these young corners. They cannot expect these corners to match up one-on-one with these guys and come out okay, because Beckham was chewing up Bro last year. You know, now what do you think he's going to do around PJ Williams? So I'm worried about that. But offensively, we have just as good of an offense to match them score for score, because you have Drew Brees going against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. And I don't give a rat's butt what you saw in Dallas. That's the Cowboys. That's a divisional game. You know, that's what you're going to see. You know, it doesn't matter what the records are. And keep in mind, it was a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back they were playing against, not an experienced veteran. Yeah. I think Drew can carve up the Giants' defense just as easily as he did last year. He's going to have to.
So
because
do you think there's validity in what all these people seem to be pointing towards, that this Sunday could very well develop into chapter 2 of what started last year in the Dome?
I don't know if you're going to see a 52-49 kind of game. I don't know if you're going to see that, but you're going to see, within 3 points, a high scoring game, a very high scoring game. I would not be surprised the Giants jump out early on the Saints, and the Saints are playing from behind a lot. I just feel that the defense isn't going to be able to stop them at all. The key will be turnovers again. If we don't turn the ball over, I mean, we had one turnover Sunday, but like I said, if it's 2 or more, we're not going to win. The one turnover is okay. 2 or more is the death sentence for us, and we're not getting turnovers. I don't know where the pass rush is going to come from. I don't think. Let me back up a little bit. I think David Carr made some incredible plays to avoid sacks when he got some pressure, and he completed some passes under heavy pressure. But when we can't do just 3 guys going after him, we're going to have to blitz people, and that's what's going to make it dangerous for these receivers, because those receivers matched up one-on-one with any of our defensive backs right now, they're going to win almost every match. But we will too. We will too.
Do you see the approach on at least as far as the front 7 goes, changing to account for the Giants more than it did the Raiders?
I think you're going to see more of a 4-man front. I think you're going to see Kruger starting instead of coming in for special packages. I think you will see Nick Fairley playing a little bit more, getting some more snaps, because he did very well when he was in there. And I think you're probably going to see Laurinaitis come out a little bit more and Craig Robertson play in the middle linebacker position. I think that what they did this past week is they tried to have Robertson play the Sam a little bit more. And it's all key on Ellerby. If Ellerby's out there, we're going to see a lot of him blitzing to try and influence, because he's your best linebacker as far as speed and instinctiveness. He's your best linebacker. That's just my feeling. I don't know if Ellerby can play, but if he can play, you will see him on blitzes. You're going to see him out there a lot more. And I just think that Robertson's your best cover linebacker. So
Sure.
That's going to be somebody who's going to go out there. That's why Anthony didn't play as much the Sam this past week. You had Robertson out there covering because he can run with the tight end. And, on that pass interference call that was, it was really face guarding. That's what they called him for. I agree the pass was uncatchable. I thought the game was over too, and I was really pissed off, angry.
I was pissed off.
Yeah, well, that they called that because it was a 4th down call.
The ball wasn't catchable. The game was over.
No,
and that changed.
It was.
That changed the end of the game.
It did, because
you can call me a homer, you can call me whatever you want to, but by the rules you'll never hear me say that the referees cost us a ball game. But
you'll hear me say that. I can point out some games where the refs called us a ball game. There's a game from 1989 that I still steamed up about with Jerry Rice, where he fumbled before he crossed the goal line.
Calm down.
Oh yeah, that one sticks with me. One sticks with me.
Calm down, man. Your eyebrows are going together. That brings me to our question of the week. Alex.
Okay.
David Michael Dunphy, buddy of mine, he posted on our Facebook page, our linebackers and safeties seem to be the biggest positive aspect on defense. Our cornerbacks and defensive line appeared to get beat with the exception of Bro. Do we need to change something on the coaching side? Do we do we switch up the players in those positions or both? What do you think about that?
Well, you've got a brand new secondary coach. You've got Aaron Glenn, who this is his first year coaching the secondary, and you've got a lot of youth in the secondary, a lot of inexperience. I mean, Crawley and Harris are both undrafted free agents starting their first ever NFL game. So I'm going to cut them a little slack. I thought, even on the 2-point conversion play, I thought Crawley had great position. He just missed it. It was just a spectacular grab by Michael Crabtree. They did make some mistakes out there. I'm not going to deny that. Crawley got eaten up a lot because it was like in the fourth quarter, Carr said, wait a minute. They got a guy out there with a 40 number, 48 out there. That's a rookie. That's testing, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, I don't think there's a problem with the coaching on there. And I know people have been after Bill Johnson forever because for whatever reason they think that that's why our defensive line has been so bad for so long. And my only response to that is, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken feathers. Look at the guys we've had on that defensive line. How many of those guys are really ultra productive? Okay. We've tried to fill in with, free agents. We've tried all kinds of things. We've never had name and impact pass rushing defensive end that we've drafted or signed. You can't. We don't have one. We haven't had one. Sean Payton has never had one. Even Will Smith at his best. He was no Leroy Glover. He was no Jumpy Gathers. He's no Frank Warren or, even Wayne Martin or Joe Johnson. He's not that level. He's a good player. He was a good complementary player that worked within a system. Okay. And that's what you've got with Cam Jordan right now. You've got a good complementary defensive end who works well in a good defensive line. Okay. So is Bill Johnson a problem coach? Is he a bad coach? I mean, I don't know how you can make that assessment because you're asking him to coach with average to below average NFL talent. You're not giving him a J.J. Watt and ruining him. You're not giving him a Leroy Glover and ruining that guy. That's my issue. Okay. How did Bro get to be so good? Okay. Bro is a good player, and they put him in positions to be successful. That's all a coach can do. So, I have a hard time blaming the coaches on these kind of things. I blame coaches when I see things like bad technique consistently. I see poor communication out there. You're setting guys up to fail. You are putting people in positions where they cannot make a play. That kind of stuff. The stuff that Rob Ryan did, where you're burning timeouts because you have people you don't know they're supposed to be out there or not lining up properly and stuff like that. That's when I stop blaming coaches for that kind of stuff. The mental errors. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I don't think that you need to I don't know how to say exactly where my head is at. As far as the players go, you've got young guys, and unfortunately, as it is, you're to the point in the season, or you're at the point in the process now where the only place you're going to gain experience is trial by fire. The only way that these guys are going to learn is from being out there and doing it. You're not in training camp anymore. You're not going to have a coach standing behind you saying, okay, on this, you need to look for this, and you need to
John McKay
see what you do wrong.
Right. John McKay had one of my favorite quotes when it came to about playing rookies and what rookies can do. He said, rookies never learn on the bench. If you're on the bench, you learn how to drink water, You learn how to hold a clipboard. You don't learn how to play football. You've got to go out there and experience it and just live and die with the mistakes. Listen, this is not a Super Bowl team. This is not even really, it has to take a lot of breaks for us to get to be a playoff team. So what's the best way? If you're going to basically throw away a season, okay? If you're going to throw away a season, put the rookies out there and let them learn. And let's see what happens. And I'm talking about on defense. Yeah, statistically it's going to look bad, but you know what? They're going to learn from this, and we're going to be able to see, okay, who the guys we keep, who the guys we get rid of. And next year, yes, it's game one. We're already talking about next year, but next year, those guys are going to learn, and those guys will be a better player than they were a year ago. And
example, you look at the first home game a year ago. The Saints are in the Dome against Tampa Bay, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Delvin Breaux makes the "come on, man" thing on ESPN because he's sitting there looking for the ball up in the Superdome lights, and the guy's behind him in the end zone with it.
Right.
It made him look like a fool. By the season's end, he was the top 3 in the league at his position. It's a process. Unfortunately,
we got to sit through the process. That's the bad part. But you know what? As a non-Saints fan, that game was probably the most entertaining game of the weekend because you had so many lead changes and you had so much excitement going on.
I honestly believe that by now Finnegan would be back on the team. They went a different direction today, this morning, and signed B.W. Webb from, I believe, the Titans.
Yeah, he graduated from William & Mary College. He has 1 interception to his record, and he picked off Drew. Yeah, he picked off Drew in the Titans game for last year. So I don't know. I mean, whatever.
So basically what you're saying is a prerequisite to anybody to join our defensive backfield is they have to have intercepted Drew.
Hey, that's been the Saints' MO in free agency as far as I can remember. Michael Haynes lit us up in the playoff game in 1991. He becomes a Saint. Eric Allen picks off Bobby Hebert and runs back for a touchdown in the 92 playoff game. He becomes a Saint. If you kick the Saints' butt in a game, the Saints decide, you know what, we need you on our team. So I don't know. I don't even pretend to understand the thinking behind things like that. So
I'm going to be the first one to tell you, and this may be kind of a crass way of looking. Ask for your forgiveness before I put it this way. If someone told me right now that the devil could play cover corner, I would ask someone to cut holes in the helmet to allow for his horns. I don't care who.
I know what you're saying. I totally get it. And, I want to win now too. And my thing, and this was last year too, my thing was, are we a better team now than we were before the game started? Are we a better team now than we were before the season started? I felt better, even though I was upset and angry that we lost. I felt better about what I saw Sunday, 2:30, than I did at noon. Like, oh my God, please just don't embarrass us on national TV. And then what I saw out there, and we did so well in the first 3 quarters. I was like, you know what? This team could do something. This team has potential to do something. This will be a big upset. It didn't happen. Why it didn't happen? And next week against the Giants, we might get blown out because we played, the offensive line regressed. We threw a ton of had a ton of turnovers with interceptions and fumbles, and we get blown out. And I feel the same way I felt at noon on September 11th. So I don't know. My thing is, I'm looking forward to this game more so than I was the Raiders game to open up the season. How do you feel about that? Oh, are you still frozen? You are still frozen on my end. I'm going to fix this one of these days. Let's while he's trying to come back from the dead, let's look at one last thing. We're going to do a new feature at the end of shows called the Extra Point, and we're basically going to go on and talk about things that are on our minds, and kind of as the signature thing about football. And since Sean was the one that was really interested in starting this, I'm gonna let him go first since I've been talking most of the time. Sean, are you back?
Yeah, man, I'm in and out. How are you?
Okay. Okay, good. So I think we're ready to start on the extra point. So do you have an extra point that you want to bring up?
Sure do.
And he goes black. Oh, great. All right, I'll go with my extra point. My extra point.
Colin Kaepernick and his merry band of.
Good. Colin Kaepernick and his. Okay.
If your cause comes at the expense of someone else's sacrifice, I'm sorry, brother, you have absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Poor Sean. We got to tape his segments ahead of time, I think. Okay. Let me do my extra point real quick while he's trying to.
Something. Am I coming and going, brother?
You are coming and going. You start to say something and then you freeze. So.
Okay. Well, let's try it again.
Okay.
Colin Kaepernick, if you're going to make a point at the expense of someone else's sacrifice.
Okay. Oh, Colin Kaepernick is playing with your internet, I think. My extra point is it's real short and simple. The NFL.
Oh, you just look like you were on speed there real quick.
Great. I probably was. What I was saying was I think Colin Kaepernick's sabotaging your internet connection, because every time you start to say something, you say his name, it freezes.
It's Doug Baldwin. It's
my extra point's really short and simple. Then we'll see if we can get back to you again. Basically, the NFL punished the Saints in 2012 for Bountygate and said that the Saints were engaging in behavior that's detrimental to the safety of players. So they came out with new rules, about who can hit the quarterback and where you can hit the quarterback and so forth. And we saw on Thursday night Cam Newton get beat up like a piñata. Whether or not that's fair or not, I'm not going to say. I thought some of the calls were borderline. I did think, that they were out there to hit him because he is a running quarterback, and they were out there to try and get him to make mistakes by hitting him, which it is what it is. It is a football game. It's contact. There are going to be hard hits in a game. I know you're not supposed to go to the head, but it happens. My bigger concern with the overall picture of, player safety, if the league is really interested in player safety, if they want to make the league a safer league and it's not about money, do away with Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football is the biggest joke I have ever seen perpetuated on the fans. The quality of the games is not nearly as good as what you see on Sunday. You are accelerating work week for football players. They lose their day off, and you essentially from Sunday start working on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday to put a game together for Thursday. Normally, it takes a player anywhere from 3 to 5 days to recover after a football game, and you're asking them to play another game, usually a divisional game, on Thursday Night Football. I hate Thursday Night Football. I despise it. Thanksgiving is something different. It's tradition, and it's one game, okay? One game. By asking teams each week, and I don't care if that team only plays one Thursday night game, by asking each week to play a Thursday night game, you are watering down the product that you care about. And you are asking players to consistently put themselves out there before their body is fully ready. And then you're going to go and lecture to me on Sunday or in a game when a player gets an unsportsmanlike conduct for brushing a helmet that you're now threatening player safety. Give me a break. Get rid of Thursday Night Football. You can have a Thanksgiving Day game, 2 games. That's acceptable. It's not acceptable to me to have it every week. I don't need to have football Thursday and Sunday. I just need to have and Monday. Okay, I just need regular Sunday and Monday football and leave it at that. That's my rant.
Calm down, brother. Calm down.
All right. So, Colin Kaepernick. What do you have to say about Colin Kaepernick?
Don't say the name, man. It's like Beetlejuice.
All right.
Okay. My point that I was trying to make is when your cause props itself up on top of the sacrifices of others, you have no credibility. You want to make us
Oh my God. Poor Sean. Poor Sean. He can't finish his thought. It just cuts him off right there in the middle.
to use right now.
I can hear you. You know, I got you there just a little bit. So give us the clip notes.
Saying that there were some words.
Oh, I don't get it. I really don't. Because we had this issue Saturday night too. All right. While he's trying to come back from limbo, I want to thank the guys at First Fan Productions for sponsoring our show. Fan First Productions. I have to write this down in crayon somewhere, so I'll make sure to remember this.
By the way, I'm back.
Good. Fan First Productions for sponsoring our show. If you want to see this show without having to look at either Sean or I, we are on iTunes. You can hear the audio version of this podcast. We are on YouTube at Under the Dome. I'm going to start advertising this on my Facebook page because I just enjoy getting ridiculed by my friends and family. So please follow us. And we're also on Twitter under the Dome. And is there any other site I forgot to mention? New Orleans Saints, the Facebook group. Please come and find us there. You'll get to see. Yes.
At Under the Dome PO1.
Thank you. At Under the Dome PO1, our Twitter account. Please come see us in New Orleans Saints group, the Facebook page, because you'll get to see some of the history stuff I put out there. I put out recently my 50th anniversary Saints team. And then yesterday I put on some clips from the 1991 season. I got crazy one time. I decided to tape every NFL primetime highlight of the 1991 season that I could find. And what I would do is I'd watch this thing at 7, and then I'd wait and stay up till 11 o'clock at night, know exactly what was coming on, and record it. So I put a couple clips on there so you get to see the Dome Patrol back in the day. And the whole reason why I put it up there is because I have one where Morton Anderson kicked the 60-yard field goal. And talk about missing that 61 yarder is what brought that one on. I'll try and put some more clips on either tonight or tomorrow. I put all kinds of things in the Wayback Machine, old games. You'll see Archie Manning in his prime. You'll see Wes Chandler, Chuck Muncie, anything I can find that I find in the internet or stuff that I've got, I'll try and throw on there. So please come and see us in that group.
We want to thank you guys as always for supporting us and taking part in what we do. Without you guys, there is no us, and that means the world to Alan and I. You can reach out to us on our Facebook, Under the Dome Podcast. You can email us at underthedomepodcast@gmail.com. And we absolutely love to interact with you guys. So you reach out to us, talk to us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you expect, and what you want to hear and see from us.
Yes, please send us as many questions as you can. We'll be glad to answer them. It gives us stuff to talk about rather than just constantly rant our opinion. And as always, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next Sunday on Under the Dome. Next Tuesday, sorry, Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.
See you later, guys.